of the Focolare in Cameroon, reflecting on mutual love as a way to building synodality. We're so happy that you've come with your busy schedule to be with us and to share with us the fruits of the synod, which you were a participant and eyewitness. You are very welcome.
We were in the synod, and Pope Francis chaired that meeting for 30 days. It's not easy to sit down for 30 days again in the school. It was a very big school for us, learning about synodality. Synodality for me finds its feet in the spirituality of the Focolare movement. What Pope Francis is doing is that he is trying to broaden what Chiara had already in the vision. If you look at all the things that Chiara outlined as part of the spirituality of the Focolare movement, it is what we are now studying at the level of the church and calling synodality. The words are changing, but the spirituality is basically the same. The Pope talks about the synodality with 3 subheadings: communion, participation, and mission. Communion in the fact of complete unity. This is the spirituality of the Focolare movement, unity. And this unity flows from love. So the communion which we share, communion with one another, communion with the church as it exists, the priest, the bishop, the laity, all of us together, and communion with the Catholic Church. Because whatever we do, we remain essentially Catholic. And we cannot be functioning without having in mind the fact that we belong to the Catholic Church, which is one, is holy and apostolic. And so one part of the church hurts, the whole church hurts. One part of the church enjoys, the whole church enjoys. And therefore our unity is an essential part of this communion, which makes synodality functional. And the participation is the fact of everybody getting on board. And the synod was very clear on the equal dignity of all the baptized. We're all equal in dignity, but different in functions. Our functions are different in the church, but by our baptism, we're all equal. We're all equal. And therefore, synodality does not spring from the differences we share, but from the common things that we have. Our baptism is common. It brings us into a common priesthood. And when we share that, then everybody now sees themselves as helping one another, working with one another. And you don't want to be left behind. In this participation, synodality insists on listening. Listening. We listen to everybody. And that listening to everybody is the heart of synodality. Listen, listen. Some bishops and priests were afraid that power has left us. Now synodality is taking power and giving to the laity. So what is our work? No, the Holy Father said, look, the church does not belong to the priests. The church belongs to the people of God. And the priest belongs to people of God. We are also part of the people of God. And in this way, synodality is enabling each one of us to do the work that we're supposed to do with fidelity. And in that way we enhance the whole work of the church. The church does not belong to some people. And this one makes me to bring out something that concerns the priests, which was a very big preoccupation of the synod. Clericalism. The Holy Father has talked about clericalism until he's becoming his sing-song. But listening to him attentively and listening to the participation of the other people, I got to understand a bit more why the Holy Father is preoccupied about clericalism. Clericalism does not build the church, it destroys the church. Because the fact that I am ordained does not put me on an advantage over the man who is not ordained. As Christians, we're all Christians. We are all struggling on the path towards holiness. And therefore, we cannot consider ourselves as superior beings. We're all ordinary mortals. And when we consider ourselves as superior beings and we throw our weight on the laity, it is not building the church, it's scattering the church. And I think one of those things that the Holy Father insisted in Europe and in other places, and is coming now to our local church, that the parish priest or the bishop says, I am the boss, not I am the servant. And when you are the boss, okay, take your decisions, you are the boss. We leave you to do it. We sit and watch you. But if you are the leader, you are the servant of the people, everybody collaborates with you to make it happen. And this is the main point of the Holy Father about clericalism. Not bossing, throwing down our weight on the people, and making the people feel that they are less privileged because they are not ordained. And making ourselves look as we are superior because we are ordained. We also insisted that this must start the reformation to helping priests and anti-clerical behavior has to start from the seminaries. Because in the seminaries, you already get that building up. Those who are in theology don't want to walk on the same path with those who are in philosophy. Those who are in theology too can only enter the chapel through the side door. Only the deacons enter through the main aisle. That is paganism. But it's happening in our seminaries. And we are trying to say that this is how clericalism starts building up. And I remember last year I was with the seminarians in the Pastoral Center, and I talked about this very strongly. One of them put up their hand and said to me, yeah, Bishop, you are destroying respect for elders. If we move with everybody the same, then where is the respect? I said, no, son, respect is earned. Respect is not forced. Once you are open to your people, they will like you. They will respect you. They will do everything for you. Once you boss them and put rules and regulations governing your relationship with them, they will fear you. You are no longer a father. You are a boss. And I think this is where we as priests have to enter this spirit of synodality. Because we are sharing in the common priesthood. And at the same time, we are helping as leaders of the communities, as the spiritual fathers of the communities. There's a difference between decision making and decision taking. And the synod explains that when you consult the people, you must get everybody involved and participate in decision making. But when you have consulted everybody, parish priests, don't be afraid, nobody take your power. Now you can take the decision. But the decision you are taking is an informed decision because you have consulted everybody in making that decision. By the time you reach the point of taking the decision, everybody feels a part of that decision. But if you just sit in your room and create decrees and issue, the decrees are coming out like bombs. The people just withdraw and let you do your thing. And the third aspect of mission essence of the church is to be missionary. And to be missionary is not a thing of priests. I've had that a bit in the environment here. Even a couple of weeks ago, we were still arguing about it. A priest comes and says to me, this layman is preaching the gospel. Father, what should we do? That's why he was baptized. So you get offended and you go and report to the bishop that a layman in your parish is preaching the gospel. Yeah, he's helping you, he's joining with you, he's doing the work for which he was baptized. Mission belongs to each one of us. Each one of us are supposed to be part of the evangelization. And this is also to help us come out of this clerical mentality. That if a layman is teaching catechesis or is preaching and doing Bible sharing or Bible study, whatever they are doing, and people are joining around him to learn, then the priest start feeling threatened. Priest start feeling threatened. But who is this man? He wants to take my job. Okay, let him go to the seminary and get ordination. No, we are all involved in mission. Mission is a call. It belongs to part of our universal call to holiness. And everybody is called to mission. It's also to help us to be able to get our lay people on board this missionary call that we have received from Christ. To go and preach the gospel, announce to the world. Our work, therefore, would be to help, guide, and direct the people who are involved in this kind of ministry. Not to block them, and then let the people go to some Pentecostal church, and you feel parish priest because you have stopped them. We shall see who is in charge. No, Father, that's not the method. So, we encourage our lay people. One of the things that really interested me in that synod is the participation of women. And they were saying, oh, give more roles to women in the church. And I was looking at it, I put up my hand and said, your own church is still so backward. In my own church, the women are in charge. You joke with the priest, I can understand. I can joke with the priest, but not with Catholic Women Association. Those women can scatter your church. If you are not serious, you are not careful, because they have power as a united group. So therefore I said to the synod that we have to open up. We are very closed in here. When we are seeing what we are doing, we think that we are doing very badly. But when we go and see how others are still very backward, we see that God has been pushing us, but we don't even know. And I think coming to this meeting to meet you, for me, is a blessing. Synodality calls for sharing with one another. Synodality means listening to one another. Synodality means as we come together, we are able to do an exchange of our experiences. This is part of the synodal church. And the synodal church is the original way of being church. This is how it started. And I want to give, to say to Father Joseph, congratulations for the provincial pastoral plan which they elaborated. That provincial pastoral plan, Father Joseph, became the star document of the synod. And the work of the small Christian communities. The small Christian communities is the way out, or there's no way. If we don't go back to the base and work from the grassroots with the small Christian communities and families, and that is why if you watch the interview, the press briefing that I gave alongside with Margaret Cara, I said during that press briefing that when you are talking about all these structures of youth participation and participation of other groups, ask Margaret Cara. She's the expert, because in the movement of the Focolare, you have Gen 2, Gen 3, Gen 4, you have volunteers, you have families, you have... So at all those levels, synodality is at work. So follow the structure that the Focolare movement has put in place, and the developed communities will discover that you are saying that small Christian communities cannot work in Europe. It's not true. Go to the Focolare movement, families are meeting. Go to the small Christian, to the Focolare movement, Gen 2 are meeting, Gen 3 are meeting. So it is the individualism and the materialism that is breaking the fabric of Europe and getting them to say that it cannot work. But there are movements within Europe that are proving that it can work. And I think, fathers, this is something very important for us. That this spirituality will help us be able to live synodality in a more fruitful way. This spirituality will help us to be able to be truly a synodal church and live out the original way of being church. I thank you very much. When I start talking about synodality, I cannot stop.